Hello everyone, I'm Faith Mutanuka. Welcome to episode 4 of Breaking the Silence on Sexual Abuse here on the VSI podcast. This show aims at exposing the sexual evils and calamities that people go through or are exposed to in our society. The show further seeks to provide information on how such can be avoided or eliminated. On this show, we invite different survivors of sexual abuse who share their experience with us. With a set of similar questions for each one of them, we're able to get different sides of the same questions. Today, I'm joined by Carol, one of the survivors of sexual abuse. Carol, could you briefly share with us how the incident occurred?
Well, it was some years back. I used to go to Ndola with my brothers for a holiday at my uncle's place. My mom's immediate young brother. He used to stay with my other uncle, who was the last born in mom's family. So every time we closed school, either in April or August, December, would always be that side. And my uncle was a police officer. So there are moments when we would work in the night shift and sometimes during the day. I honestly don't even remember how it started, but I just found myself in that situation where every time we were sleeping, I could feel my uncle on me. He would undress me and have sex with me. So that continued for a very long time. Actually, it continued for years. Until I grew up, developed some sense, and it just became uncomfortable. So it used to happen all the night, every night when I go for holidays. When we come back from the holiday, it's done. And what mostly used to happen was in the night when he does that. In the morning, he would be sweet, get me balloons because I really loved balloons and biscuits. So would always go out with my brother, get us balloons and biscuits, and I would be excited and forget about the moment. In the night, the same thing would happen where he would come out from his bedroom and follow me where I used to sleep, and dress me and begin to have sex with me.
How old were you at the time, and do you have any idea of what led to a close relative taking such a step?
I was 6 years old. Yeah, I was 6 years old, and his behavior continued to I was 10. His behavior continued. Yeah, it was really disturbing. It was so disturbing, and I don't know what could have led to that. Or maybe you know how men behave sometimes, like if there is a lady in the house, like the only one, because I was the only one at that time, and maybe he feels whatever he used to feel, not to support his actions, but I don't know. I don't know what used to go on in his life or through his mind. I honestly don't know.
Did you have anyone to talk to when all this was happening, or at least at the time when you had gone back home?
No, I didn't have anyone to talk to. Even when I come back home from, because at that time we used to stay in Fulira and they were in Dola. So even when I come back home, I would just brush it off. But jokingly, I would make mention with my friends at school. I would talk about it. But you know, when you're kids, you laugh about it, and life goes on. But not really someone to talk to, either my mom or the other older uncle. I didn't have anyone to talk to.
Looking at the effects that this has had on your physical, mental, and emotional well being, how would you describe the relationship you share with your uncle as at now?
Okay, so what happened? It's I have to give a brief history before I answer this question. Yeah, so what happened was after he stopped abusing me, that was, I think I was 10 years, 11 at that time. I just used to, like, every time you walk into the room, I would walk out. Yeah, that's what I used to do until he just didn't have the chance or the opportunity anymore to do whatever I used to do, and that's how it stopped. So I lived with it. I was quiet. Yeah, I lived with it for a very long time until, if my memory serves me right, that should be 2012, 2013. I was in grade 11 at that time. So he came to visit, and by then we had moved from Mufulira. We used to stay in Kitwe. So he came to visit, and he had a tendency of just walking into the room, the girl's bedroom, and I was uncomfortable with that. So he would walk into the girl's bedroom, he would maybe get lotion, grab perfume, and stuff like that. So that used to bother me a lot. Sorry. I spoke about it, and we had a very big argument, and some of his words were, iwe mwaicheta wako atenkama, like you don't know how to keep secrets. And out of anger, I mentioned to say, if I didn't know how to keep secrets, I would have told everyone of how you used to abuse me when I was young, of how you used to come every night in my room and undress me and have sex with me. I would have told everyone, but because I know how to keep secrets, I haven't mentioned it to anyone. When I say that, both my parents were around, my siblings were around as well, but mom didn't say anything. She pretended like she didn't hear a thing. It was only my sister who followed me and said, when you mentioned about your uncle having sex with you, did you say it out of anger or you meant what you said? So I was like, I meant it. It used to happen when I was young. He used to do it. And she literally cried because she felt so bad. And the respect that we've given him and how we treat him, we used to treat him rather, she felt really bad. So at that time, the fact that my mother never bothered to follow me or ask me about how everything happened, it made me a very bitter person. I had a strong grudge for my uncle. I never used to want to be around him. Every time he walks in the room, I would walk out. I wouldn't care whether he's saying something that is making sense or not. I would always disagree with what he used to say. Later on, it was one of my brother's birthdays, and my uncle's girlfriend at that time used to bake cakes. So my mom asked her if she could bake a cake for my brother. But later on, mom changed her mind because the friend was the one making the cake. Then on the last day, when we were supposed to have the cake, mom's friend had an emergency and she traveled, so she couldn't finish making the cake. So at that time, my uncle started talking, saying, no, I told you guys this person should have made the cake. And it was drama anyway. We had arguments and everything. The day passed. Later on in the evening, when all the guests had left, he came back, and I was so upset because it just wasn't right for him to say whatever he said in public during the day. And of course, I didn't support anything that he said, so I used to find ways of disagreeing with him or being in an argument with him all the time. So he got home, and I was by the door, and I started shouting at him because I didn't even have any respect for him. He was way older than me, but I lost every little respect that I had within me. So I shouted at him. I was like, no, there is no way you could have said what you said, and blah blah blah. I said a lot of things that I can't even remember. He didn't say a word. He just walked into the house, went to his bedroom, and the next thing I heard was my mother crying, saying, "You guys like talking a lot. You've seen what you've caused." I went inside the house only to find him fighting for his life because he had drank poison. He drank weed killer. And even the time when mom got milk to like make him drink so that the poison wouldn't affect him so much, he did not agree to that. I went outside. I wasn't crying. I was still bitter. I wasn't even surprised. I wasn't in shock. It was just a weird moment that I can't even imagine. It's something that has never happened before. So from that time, they rushed him to the hospital, and that's how he died. Yeah, so I wouldn't describe the relationship that I have with him now because he's not with us anymore. And even at that time, I was just filled with bitter and rage, anger, and I didn't even want to have anything to do with him.
Considering the fact that all this happened when you were very young, how have you been affected as a result, and what steps have you taken to reduce the impact?
I can say I've been affected in so many ways. I've been affected in so many ways. Like I mentioned, I grew up being bitter, and the other thing that really got to me was my mom not saying a word. She only opened her mouth after my uncle passed on and we were done with the burial. That's when she called me to the table and said, "I remember what you said that day, but certain things you don't have to take them to heart. You just have to forget about them and let go because men behave like dogs sometimes." And I cried because maybe if she had told me those words before, he wouldn't have died. He would have been alive. Maybe I would have let go. I would have forgiven him and I wouldn't have been a bitter person. But it was too late. And it has affected me so much that even the relationships that I involve myself into with different men, I always want to be authoritative. I always want to take the lead. I don't want I don't want to feel like I am below the person I'm dating. I'm always in control. And of course, a lot of them that I've been with have been complaining, but I don't care because I just don't want to be stepped on. I want to be in charge all the time because I feel like if I'm the weaker person, another person, if I'm the weaker person, someone else might abuse me the same way my uncle did, or my boyfriend or my husband might behave the same way, and I'll be vulnerable because I won't have any say in it. So I must say it has broken me in every way, and in as much as I have shared the story with a few people, just maybe my relatives, it doesn't take away the pain. The memories are still fresh. I remember every incident, everything that used to happen. I remember like it was yesterday. Prayers have been done. People keep saying you pray, let go, forgiveness, but it's hard to erase a memory. The damage has been caused, and I honestly don't know how to get out of it.
Having fear is one of the most common reasons why victims do not report cases of sexual abuse. It may be fear of being exposed or fear of the perpetrator being punished. What steps should one take in order to break the silence about sexual abuse?
In order for one to break the silence about this sexual abuse, I think we shouldn't have to be scared of anything. I know at that time it's what I did, and I didn't find anyone to talk to. But at the end of the day, these people are winning. And as for me, that's why I am advocating so much for comprehensive sexuality education, because I feel like if I had someone at that time to tell me the signs of sexual abuse, to say if a person does this to you, if a man touches you here, whether it's sexual assault or abuse, whenever someone does this, whenever a person touches you like this, or maybe your uncle or your father has sex with you, you don't have to keep quiet. You have to report them immediately. If there was someone to talk to me about that, I would have done the needful the moment my uncle tried it for the first time. But there was no one. There was no one to talk to me about it. And I think it's just right for this generation to know, in as much as people might be against the comprehensive sexuality education, saying no, how can you be teaching young people about sex and everything? It's just right for them to know, because the earlier they know, the better. It's not like sexual abuse has stopped. No, it's still there. And there are so many young ones who are quiet and in fear out there. They need to know, they need courage, they need the knowledge, the right information to know that this is wrong. And whenever they find themselves in that situation, they should know what to do. Reporting the person, talking to someone, that can be the only way we can stop this sexual abuse.
As we wrap up today's episode on sexual abuse, Carol, what advice would you give to someone out there who might be in a similar situation?
My advice to people going through the same situation that I went through is don't keep quiet. You need to break the silence. Trust me, in as much as they may be threats to say no, maybe if it's the person who is keeping you a guardian and they say, if you report, I'm going to chase you out of my house, I won't pay for your school fees, I'll kill you. Those are just threats. Trust me, the moment you report such a case, they will be powerless. They won't have any say, and all those threats will be gone because they won't be there anymore to threaten you. And of course, we can't trust the police because they take long to interfere in such cases. But there are different organizations that are looking at such issues. There are different institutions that are advocating for breaking the silence. You can just find out and report these issues. Don't keep quiet. Trust me, the more you keep quiet, the more it will affect you, not just for now, but even your future. Don't keep quiet. Let's break the silence and report these cases. Report these people, report these men, report these women, because there are men who are abused by women also. Let's report these cases. Thank you.
As we have come to the end of this episode on breaking the silence on sexual abuse, I'd like to thank you, Carol, for sharing your story with each one of us. It is my prayer that you heal from all of this. In as much as it may take in much of your time and effort, your dedication to it will make everything possible. Always remember that the VSI family and its partners are here for you, so don't feel alone. Everyone, thank you for listening to this podcast. Utmost thanks to everyone who has reached out to us to help our guests have a smooth recovery and healing process. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, break the silence on sexual abuse.